If you are a creative or a marketer, this episode will help you stand out. Basically, also if you run a business. This is the episode 11 of the Diary of a CEO, where I talk about avoiding being a wallpaper at all costs. Basically, how you can stand out. So now, how you can stand out is pretty simple. At the same time, it's complex. It's the reason a lot of marketing that is cheap is way more successful than marketing that is expensive. At the same time, the expense why marketers succeed, right, by doing some little psychological tricks, while some don't succeed even while following the exact same principles. Now, stay with me. So it talks about being a wallpaper here. So being a wallpaper, I'll just give you a breakdown and then break down the ideologies first. So being a wallpaper, if you probably walk into your room right now and you have a wallpaper on your wall, at some point, it becomes it's not anything that your brain picks anymore, because your brain is used to seeing that wallpaper over and over and over again. That is the whole idea of a wallpaper now. Or rather, with your screensaver on your phone, the wallpaper on your phone, if you probably notice that, except it changes, if it stays the same, your brain just completely removes it completely, right? It's not anything that your brain picks, oh, this is a wallpaper. Nope. Why? Because your brain is trying to save energy, it's trying to save resources. That is the concept called habituation filtering. Now, think about it. Have you ever been in a room that has a very irritating buzzing sound? But if you stay in that room for about 3 to 10 minutes, the sound is there, all right, but it no longer disturbs you at all. It no longer moves you. That's because your brain has adjusted for that sound. Now, the sound is no longer irritating because you are used to it. Now, this idea of habituation filter happens everywhere, right? Even coming out of your house, if your mailbox is there and has always been there, your brain will not pick it up, except it gets missing. Now your brain knows that something used to be there actively, but now it's missing. This concept, if you understand it, is the key that marketers use. At the same time, you have to use it with caution, because using it for too long creates a bigger problem. Because if you expose your product, your creativity, your sample to people, they would enjoy it for a while, right? If you expose it to them very often, they would enjoy it. But at some point, they'll begin to not enjoy it because their brain is already used to it. Now, sorry, I almost fell there. So, another concept that I want to bring here is semantic saturation, where it talks about how a word can be inaccessible in the brain because it has been used too often. So you don't need to put resources to it. For example, have you ever been reading a book and a word stands out to you? That word stood out to you because you're probably not used to it. Or you probably not ever heard it before. Or you probably do not know the meaning. The rest just begin to fade through the background. Like I said, habituation filtering. So if you stick with me, I was saying to you, at what point you should keep using it to your advantage, and at what point should you ditch it? At what point should you switch it up? By the way, I'm not a Drake fan, but I must commend Drake for using this technique of knowing when to switch things up and how to switch things up. Those two things are very important. So now let's move into what is called the mere exposure effect. The mere exposure effect is what you get when somebody takes an idea, right? And they see an idea repeatedly to the point where it becomes familiar with them. And if that idea is familiar with them, then they can begin to embrace it. They can begin to accept it as their own. So for example, if you're hearing people talk about ChatGPT, AI, all of a sudden, right, you begin to become interested in that particular AI. Or same thing with a song. If you hear a song on the radio repeatedly, even though it is trash, you would begin to like it. That's how crazy it is. Now, something here scares me, because if you think about it, right, if you look at the way massive corporations, the big music industrial complex, how they control what people hear and what people can't hear, it becomes mind-boggling. Then it begs the question of, do we really control what we listen to? Or is it that a couple of rich people or powerful people dictate what we listen to? Because, like I said, the things we like are not really things that we went to seek, except if you actively, intentionally went to seek it. But most of the things that go viral are things that are pushed down our throats. If you think about it, one person created, sorry, that's my alarm for MMA. One person creates a particular challenge, and all of a sudden, we have robots spreading the challenge far. But like I said, well, it's really not me because I try my possible best to at least curate the things that go into my head because that is the most important thing. So I'm employed to do that. So now it says there's something called optimal level of exposure. This is what happens when something is both new enough, is new to engage us because remember, when we are used to it, our brain does not really engage it anymore. But when it is new to engage us, but it is old enough for us to like it. Have you ever wondered why some of your artists go to remix old songs of other people? Or is it remix or I call it sample? They sample old songs because people loved that old song. Yet, for people to maybe like their own song, they bring their flair to it. Now, it's a way of introducing audiences to each other. And which brings me to this idea of the 3% rule by Ablo. Now, the 3% rule is very, very simple. If you change a process or a product by just 3%, right, you'll get an entirely new different concept. So for example, if you look at Virgil Abloh's shoes and the Nike shoes, you get to see that they are very similar, yet it's his line already. He has tweaked some things in the product to create it. Now, he's able to capture some of Nike's and what do you call it, customers. Just by the resemblance of what they are familiar with. So you see this thing more often than not that people are familiar with the concept already, but you want to introduce yours. So it's nice to remix. Now it sounds like copy, right? That's why there's a reason it's a book called the name of the book is Still Like an Artist by Austin Kleon. It basically explains this concept, how you can take a concept, remix it through your head, right, and create it as yours. Now, it's not the same thing as directly copying somebody, but it is you infusing what people are already used to. So if people are used to a particular kind of sound, right, why don't you bring your style to it? Like I said, Drake has been very, very good at this thing where he's switching up his style. If Drake sang the exact same way from the beginning to now, we would have been bored. Our brains would have been used to his style of singing and to him himself. But no, he keeps switching up his style from the beats to the way he sings, to the rap, to the genre, to the people he features. That is one reason why he has been, I think, is it 500 weeks he has been on the charts. 500 weeks, that's around 10 years. How many people get to stay at the top for 500 weeks? Somebody said, how do you say it? He said, I've been on the chart for 500 weeks. So somebody likes when I speak. That's just mind-boggling. And like I said, if you're a creative or a marketer, you need to understand this concept so it can help you stand out. So let me see. Then in marketing, any word that has been used for too much becomes abused or disempowered. If you think about it, words that people are already used to, for example, discounts, sale, cheap, at some point these words completely die out. They lose meaning in the heads of the customers, not because customers don't really think, but because customers are used to saying those words. If you try to switch up the word to something that is rarely used, you would notice that customers would engage more in that product. I'm referring to marketers here though. Same thing with creatives. If there's a particular term that is being used, particular slang, at some point, that slang is going to die out, right? But if you find a way to remix that slang, now to the customer's brain, it's going to stand out. If you notice, the last few episodes has been talking about how we should stand out. Even though I think this particular concept has helped some, I'll say, some women in the rap industry. When they rap in certain ways and they look different from other trap artists, it draws attention to them. Now, I don't want to get controversial here, but shout out to some artists, some female artists, who don't talk about anything vulgar, but yet they found a more creative way to get their art out there, precisely their music. Shout out to you guys. You guys are a big inspiration. I know the industry may not be easy for you, but that creativity you brought to it, I must commend you for it. Now, Back to the wallpaper effect. Let me give you his terms. The overuse of popular terms, phrases, and call to actions to the point where our brain habituates to them and choose them out. Now, the same thing you're saying. Even for most content creators, when you hear things like, comment, share, subscribe, at some point your brain tunes it out. That is why you hear me say things like, "Oh, can I share this video with somebody who you think will find it helpful?" I have barely heard such kind of call to actions almost anywhere. Although, please share my video with somebody who is a marketer or a creative, or anybody who you know is going to help, because you never can tell who's going to help, and it's actions like that that help spread the movement. But I'm going to repeat the same thing at the end, so please bear with me. But when you use the same thing over and over again, or "Hey guys, my name is," "Hey, welcome to my channel," all of those things, they become boring to the audience, because the audience has heard it, not because it's you, but because their brain has heard it over and over again. And like I said, the brain needs to conserve resources for your message, so it's going to filter out those things. And if you ask them, "What did you say at that particular point?" they can't really tell. That is why the moment I start this video, I go in with what you will benefit in this video. Although my old videos were not the same thing, but you get the point. Whenever everybody, which leads me to the point of Apple's message, Apple's most successful campaign, think different. If you think different, automatically you get different results. If you think different, you stand out, because something is different about it. Something draws people, like that idea of something new, of novelty, something that's brought to you. So if you keep doing the exact same thing as other people, why are you expecting a different result? Now, on that same term, now wallpaper is the enemy of effective and successful storytelling and marketing. Now, mind you, have you ever noticed that storytelling has become so popular and so common that it's just common that everybody is using the exact same framework for telling stories? Though it's still powerful, but at some point it's going to fade out. So I'm looking for ways to tell stories in a way that does not really conform to them. So gather to it. So marketing teams will default to using common phrases through laziness, but they don't want to think. The key word there is thinking and bringing something new. They are risk averse and they lack creativity. They are risk averse because, to be very frank, bringing in a new marketing concept is very difficult. It's easy, but it's risky. And think about it. I have guys who have worked in what do you call it, in advertisement firms. And one thing they've told me, one thing I've seen firsthand is the fact that these guys aren't really creative. One, two, they're not really out to help the client get his goals. They're out to, one, help the client look professional in a way that they can use it as a portfolio project. So if you think about it, a lot of people, you have to realize the game you're playing, because if you outsource your marketing, those guys, for the long term, they are much more hell-bent on building a portfolio than helping you. I've seen this thing play out over and over again. Yes, if they help you achieve your goals, yes, you're seeing their portfolio, but that will make them think too much. That will make them have to think too much. That will make them have to take risk, because, to be very frank, the ideas that stand out the most are the most risky ideas. There's a reason for that. If you go over and over again and look at Nike's marketing, imagine Nike had outsourced his marketing, right? Imagine how the message would have been different. Mind you, Nike understands that in their message, they have to be polarizing. How many marketing agencies do you think would like that idea of being polarizing? Because being polarizing is super risky. If your message lands in the wrong way, which, to be very frank, has its benefits too, but if it lands in a very wrong way, wow, that brand can be cancelled. I mean, we live in cancel culture. So it says, if you have an important message and you want to infiltrate the brain circuit, that is, you don't want to be seen to be the exact same thing as other people. You want to grab their attention. You want something that grabs their attention. If it's received with meaning, use terminologies that are unexpected, unusual, and unsaturated. Use something that is different in the summary of it all. Don't use the exact same terms. Don't use the exact same, or share with somebody. Hey, share with somebody who you know is going to like this, who is going to like this content. Or, you know what? You know, when you actually help us to subscribe on this channel, right? What you're doing is you're helping the algorithm to push such message forward to somebody else who's going to find it valuable. You see how different it is? Now, the person who hears that call to action, is going to be driven to do something different because he stood out, not because it's better, but because his brain literally understood, and which is something you should understand that. When you're speaking to some people, right, sometimes they are incapable of understanding your message, not because they are not smart, but because their brains are not in the right state at the right time. So what that means is that you knowing this concept, you should learn how to speak more to the person's brain circuitry. Because when you're talking to people, you assume you're talking to people who are thinking at the moment. Or the person is hungry, the person is emotional, the person is happy or sad. The person might take your message in a different way. That is why I say when you're learning communication, try to learn practical psychology. It's very, very powerful. It's helping to understand how people process their emotions and how you can work with it to both advantage. So now, repetition is key. At some point, the repeated message loses its value. That is the moment I said a lot of marketers will take this concept, right? They'll take the concept and they will lose it at the very end. Mind you, repetition is key. The same way people say consistency is key. Consistency is key to a particular point. If you're doing the same thing consistently over and over again, at some point, things will begin to lose its value. Things will begin to feel bored. There'll be no growth. Everything will feel like it's stagnant. That's why sometimes while you're doing things that are consistent, try to bring in something different, bring in new ideas, sometimes increase the level of intensity. So I think I'll discuss this further later down the line. Now, consistency is okay, but at some point, you staying consistent keeps you there in life. If you want to move to the next level, you're going to need something different. Either it's a different idea, or you might have to do things with more intensity. Now, what really matter under the fate of ideas? Politicians and brands can All right, basically, my entire note is messed up, but if you can communicate in a way that is different from others, that lets you stand out, that is different. So the choice of words that you use is different. The colors you use are different. The way that you appear is different. And mind you, like I said, if it all boils down to the same episode of Short Last, so that is how you get to stand out. But at some point, you have to switch things up. You have to keep moving the goalpost. That is the reason Steve Jobs, in his last speech, I mean, not his last speech per se, but in one of his speeches that people really love is Cambridge or Oxford, whatever it is. In the end, he says, stay hungry, stay foolish. Stay hungry enough, right? So you can think very well, because when you're hungry, you can think very well. Stay foolish, because those smart ideas that you think are very practical, right, will not make you to stand out. But those absurd things, right? When you begin to do things that are stupid, not stupid for the sake of being stupid, but stupid for the sake of grabbing attention while you get to pass your message, is one of the most important aspects of business. So thank you very much. I really wish that in this video, I was able to explain to you why you should not become a wallpaper by switching things up, being creative, being smart, sharing ideas in a way that people will accept them with their brain, not with their ears, because those are two different things. If you know how to communicate, you understand that. So please grab this book, right? This book is very powerful. Although I said it has every idea for a new chapter, but of the 33 laws, it kind of feels like 20 unique ideas. So a lot of ideas are kind of interwoven or repeated over and over again. So, but it's a very interesting book regardless. It's one of the books that I would say, if you read it carefully, I can bet you it will improve. You will find some ideas that will improve your life, improve your business, improve your marketing. So thank you very much. Can you share this video, right? Or let's talk in the comment section. What do you think about this book so far? Is it helping you? You see the action of commenting on this video would help the algorithm, right, to spread this message out there and to help another creative, another marketer, another business owner to stand out, to avoid becoming a wallpaper. Thank you very much. I just gave a different call to action intentionally. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. I have to go out.